Hey, you're looking for a podcast where you can hear some great hockey legends, hear them tell some great stories, find out what they're up to today? Well, this is it. It's the Domino's Pizza Overtime Podcast. I'm your host, Gino Reda. Today's guest, a 16-year NHL veteran and a Stanley Cup champion with the 1993 Montreal Canadiens. He still shares the Habs record for most assists in a single game by a defenseman. And in 2018, he nearly lost his life. He spent 60 days in a coma, became paralyzed, went through a heart valve transplant, kidney and liver transplants, all on the same day, just to save his life. He made a full recovery and now joins us here today. Our guest, Lyle Odelein. Lyle, I got to admit, I had no idea that you came this close to death. First and foremost, how are you today? Because you certainly look good. How are you feeling?
Gino, actually really good. Thanks for having me. No, things are going good. And I have a great wife that probably saved my life. I mean,
What?
It was, I had to learn how to walk and talk again.
What happened? What happened, Lyle? Where did this all come from?
Went with my brother-in-law in Phoenix, Arizona, and there's a thing called the jumping cactus. You get like between a foot or half a foot. So we have to wear pants out there and stuff. And
This is on the golf course?
It was on the golf course, and then it jumped on my calf. And so we thought we got them all with our irons, pull them out of my calf.
Hold on. Stop for a second here.
Yeah.
This, you didn't actually brush against the cactus. The cactus shot out.
Yeah.
Walk me through this. This is crazy.
Yeah, it's called the jumping cactus. It's happened to other people before, but I have such my pain thrush is so high that I never thought nothing of it. And about 10 days later, I wasn't feeling well. I was tired and went to the hospital, like I said, 10 days later. And the doctor said, I think you just have blood poisoning. You should be in and out in a couple days. And it was like 6 months later. So
what happened? What did the doctors tell you?
Well, it just broke down my system and it just went right through me. And fortunately, it was a long weekend, and if I didn't get a new liver within the next 24 hours, I wouldn't be here today. And so I was very blessed to, and did it all. I had 5% chance of living at the time. So
what was that like for you? Like you go to sleep, and then you wake up. Like, what was the conversation like when you woke up? Like, did you have any idea?
When I woke up, I couldn't talk, and you had to spell on the iPod to say something, and I couldn't move my arms, and it was rough.
Man, I can imagine. So you needed a heart valve transplant, a liver transplant, a kidney transplant.
Yeah. Well, I'm cut from like head to toe.
Wow.
But, yeah, very blessed to be here today.
So that's the physical rehab and something like that is amazing. What was that like emotionally for you when you found out what you had gone through and what your family had gone through?
Yeah, your brain's a wonderful thing, and it blocks out a lot of stuff, and you just have to start over. And I mean, therapy was twice a day, and I'd probably sleep for 20 hours a day for about 18 months. But things are good now, and business is good, and living a great life.
What does that do for you when you come through something like that in terms of changing your outlook? Like people say, I had, a near-death experience. You quite literally had a near-death experience. What does that do to you on the other side of something like that?
I think it changes your life. Obviously, you appreciate life a lot more, and the things that people do for you and have done for you. You appreciate things a lot more in life.
Yeah, I can imagine. You're a guy who your original roots for Quill Lake, Saskatchewan, for those who don't know, and that would be 99.9% of our audience. That's a population of 377 people.
Probably not even that big anymore.
What was that like as a young kid growing up in such a small community? Did you even aspire to one day being an NHL player? Was that even a dream of yours at that point?
That was a big dream for me. I'm not going to lie. My brother got drafted in the first round of the Oilers, and we were playing against Joey Kosher, Wendell Clark, Kelly Chase, Brad Lauer, Kevin Kaminsky. There was a lot of little towns with a lot of people around within 45 minutes So we all had big dreams, and you leave home at 14 or 15 and go play in better leagues and stuff. And very blessed and shocked that I always wanted to play one game in the NHL, and I'm playing 1,056 games. So that was pretty impressive for me.
It's pretty amazing how quickly your life changes. I mean,
Yep.
you were a seventh rounder pick
Yep.
of the hat, 1986, and then you go out to training camp, and all of a sudden there you are with guys like Chris Chelios, Shane Corson, Guy Carbonneau, Mike Keane.
Right.
What was that like? And then I heard there was an interesting situation when the check came at the end of the night.
Yeah. Yeah. I was training camp in Sweden. I said, I'll get the check. Well, my check wouldn't cover the bill, by the way. I wasn't making very much money. And Chili said, don't worry about it, Odie. I'll get it. I said, oh, thank you so much.
It's a different lifestyle, isn't it?
Oh my gosh, I'll say. Yeah.
And then you meet Pat Burns. Pat Burns is your coach at that point.
Yeah.
And you enjoyed how would I say this? You enjoyed clubbing, you enjoyed your party times as well as your time on the ice.
Oh,
and you went out with some veterans. You want to tell us a story about what happened with Pat Burns?
Well, we were I was young at the time, and we were all at a place called Shapery, a strip bar. And I got called in the next day. In the morning, he goes, he asked me, he says, who do you think you are? I'm like, well, nobody. And he says, I'm going to send you down to Sherbrooke, to the miners. I'm like, oh, God. So I drive all the way down to Sherbrooke. And I get there, I'm taking my equipment, obviously, out of the car and hanging it up in Sherbrooke. And the trainer comes up and goes, well, you're going back up to Montreal, which I didn't know till years later that I got claimed on waivers by the Detroit Red Wings. Back then, it was recallable waivers, so they had to keep me in. And I drive all the way down Sherbrooke and all the way back. So I get back to Montreal around 7:30, and Pat Burns is in the locker room. And he goes, do you get the message, kid? I said, oh, yeah. Burnsy was great, though. I mean, he gave me a shot, a chance, and playing in Montreal, like, as you know, is it's the best place in the world to play.
It really is. And like people always remember certain moments in their NHL careers. For yours, I would think that your first NHL goal, you were 93 games into your NHL career and you got your first goal. But
and
what I find, yeah, that's the story. Yeah, what I find interesting about
it. I remember that one.
Scored and the reaction you got. Tell our audience about that.
Oh, it was unbelievable. I mean, I think I was in the league already for a year and a half and I haven't had a goal. I was there actually just to fight. And when I got my goal, I think everyone thought I was going to dump the puck in, actually. And Eddie Belfour was in net and I'm in the backhand and scored. It was just hilarious. Guys were laughing and stuff. It was like we're in Chicago and with Shane Corson, Keener, Patrick Waugh, a bunch of other guys. So they're all going out and buying gifts for their moms or girlfriends or wives or whatever. And Shane Corson goes to me, he says, do you like this purse for $15.99 or $19.99? And I said, I like that one for $19.99. I'm right off the farm, so I'm not that bright. So I pull out a $20 bill. I said, oh, don't worry about it, of course, I'll get it. Meanwhile, it was over $2,000 and I felt like an idiot. No one said anything because I had to fight the next night, obviously. So, but that story gets told a lot.
That's awesome.
I mean, I didn't know. I mean,
yeah, like from what you grew up with,
right,
to all of a sudden to what you have. What's that like when you grow up with virtually? I mean, I grew up on a farm in a very small farm in a very small community. I had no idea what could happen. What was that like for you to transition? I mean, the transition I went through was nowhere near as dramatic as yours because you went to the salaries that were in the NHL. Even at that point, what's that like for you?
You know, for me, it was everything because I had no money growing up. I think when I bought my first car, it was a 1974 Ford Elite. I paid $450 for it when I was playing in Moose Jaw, and I could hardly afford to put the gas in it. And then all of a sudden, you get drafted and you sign. And I didn't spend too much time in the minors, which was a great thing. But I don't know, everything. You know, thank the Lord. I mean, coming from a good family, so it worked out.
Yeah, it certainly did. Jacques Demers became your in 1992. Yeah. Talk to me about what he meant to you.
Everything. Serge Savard is probably the best guy I've ever met in my hockey career. Actually, his son come in and and Serge is supposed to come, but his wife passed away. And Serge thanked me for taking. He wanted to go to the Steelers um, uh, Cowboys game, and of course we have a box there. It was just great. Jock gave me my real chance, I think, because I was there to fight, and then he put me with Matthew Schneider, and then all of a sudden we were checking the first line. Then I got put on the power play, and then I made the World Cup in '96, which everything just really changed. But he was a great guy. You know what? Everybody in that team was, as you know, hockey players I think are the best athletes in the world, off the ice and on the ice. And it was Jock was the best, and so was Serge.
Yeah, and what a year in 1993. I mean, it had been a drought, and now since then, no Canadian NHL team has won a Stanley Cup, which is really mind-boggling.
33 years ago.
Yeah, great. And there's the ring. Beautiful. Yeah. For those watching on the
podcast. I wore it today, Gino.
I appreciate that. That's nice. I like you bringing the ring out. That's awesome.
At least you can wear these.
Yeah, take advantage of when you can. Patrick Waugh, Vinny Danfus, Kurt Muller, John Leclerc. What was it like in that season, like the dream season for the Montreal Canadiens?
You know, I think Serge was building a dynasty at the time. We were really close. You know, what happened on the road stayed in the road. What happened in the dressing room stayed in the road. We were just a close-knit family, which I've played probably 8 or 9 different teams. I've never seen a team that close. And all the veterans, I mean, you learn from the best, like Carbonneau, Chelios, Patrick Waugh, obviously, Kirk Muller, Keener, like you said, Danfus. And then I think when I wore a letter every team I played on. And I think once I made the World Cup team, and I didn't really, you got Gretzky as your first center, Messier, Lindros, Sakic, your backups are Yzerman, Ronnie Francis. And when we lost the U.S., which we shouldn't have lost the game to, and I was fortunate enough to play in it, Brett said, bring all your checks down and sign them, give them to me. This is where I'm really starting to learn. And our checks were like $26,900. We had like 5 or 6 trainers. And Gretzky says, well, that's a tip for the trainers. I mean, what a classy man that is. I mean, it was unbelievable. And you start learning from these guys, and you understand why they keep winning, and they're great people and the most generous people in the world. You take your trainers out when they're on the road, and you just learn, and you sit back and watch, and it's just amazing.
Amazing. Yeah. The 1996 World Cup, what an opportunity that was for you.
Yeah. I think we got US 58-18 or something. I mean, like 6 crossbars, 8 posts. And that just was good for hockey, though. I will say that.
You want to tell the Gretzky Hugo Boss story?
Oh, yeah. How'd you find out about that?
Hey, listen, it's my job, brother.
Yeah, we went to in Toronto, Hugo Boss store, and Gretzky says, get something. I said, no, I'm fine. I mean, I was starting to make a little bit of money at that time. And he goes, what are you, like a $46 something? I said, yeah. So I ended up getting like 10 suits, ties, shirts, and I didn't have to buy clothes for like 2 years. And he goes, well, I'm not paying for it anyways because they sponsor him. And it was pretty funny.
So you got 10 suits from your buddy Wayne Gretzky during the 96 game World Cup. That's pretty freaking amazing.
He's an amazing guy. I mean, he's the greatest player I've ever played with. I can tell you that.
Yeah. Let me take you back to the 1993 Cup. Part of that run was 10 straight overtime wins.
Yeah.
The playoff run, which was crazy. I remember covering, and as we're watching it, we're like, this is insane. At some point, they're going to have to lose in overtime because, just statistically, they'll tell you a bad bounce, a bad turnover.
Right.
Or something. What was it like to be a part of that, Lyle?
I'll be honest with you, like Patrick Waugh would say, I give up 2 goals tonight. Just get me the third one. I mean, and you could see it in his eyes, and see it in everybody's eyes in the dressing room. We actually knew we were going to win, which is, you don't feel that all the time. I don't care what anybody says, but we felt that we were going to win every game. I mean, like you said, 10 games in a row in overtime. It was like, well, Patty was, I played with some of the best, Berger and Luongo, and Patty was just hated to lose. And he didn't have his great year going into the playoffs, and I mean that's why he's got 4 or 5 Stanley Cups. I mean he's just a winner, and you have guys talking in the room, and the big three I think would have to be Patrick Waugh, Kirk Muller, and Guy Carbonneau, and that was kind of the glue of the team. Mike Keane was there too, and even JJ Daniel, Vincent Damphousse. But there was no French and English. It was like if someone was talking French in the locker room, one of the French guys said, no, speak English so everybody else can understand, which was, it was just different back in the day. Like I said, Serge put the team together, and ever since Serge left, that organization's never been the same.
Yeah. So as you're going through that streak, and as you continue to win games in overtime, and you're getting closer and closer to the game's ultimate prize, I'm sure the anticipation is building. And then what happens when it's over? The clock ticks down. The game is over. You are a Stanley Cup champion. What's that experience like for you personally?
For me, it was, I mean, I was only 24 years old. I wore number 24. It was a 24 Stanley Cup. It took, I'll be honest with you, a couple of weeks to really set in, to realize what our team accomplished. And then it was like, wow. I mean, here I thought I'd win like 5 or 6 Stanley Cups. You get to the dance a few times and then you don't win it. And it's Raymond Bourque had to go to Colorado and win a cup. One of the greatest defensemen in the world. And playing with Patrick Waugh and Rob Blake, Adam Foote. I mean, it's tough to win.
Can you believe that that's the last Canadian team to win the cup? I mentioned that before, but when you sit back and think about it, can you believe that?
Actually, no, I'm actually shocked because it's Canadian. I mean, it's Canada's game, but I mean, it's so hard to win it. I mean, Edmonton come close again, Vancouver come close, Calgary come close. It's just tough.
Yeah, it really is.
Get ready for the game with the Domino's $8.99 mix and match deal. Score big with any medium 2-topping pizza and any 2 items like pastas, stuffed cheesy bread, boneless chicken, or classic chicken wings. Domino's has you covered. Order today from Canada's favorite pizza at domino's.ca.
I wanted to ask you about, you mentioned a bunch of guys, and you became really close to a lot of guys on the team. You had a pretty interesting relationship with Chris Chelios. I know I've been on the road with Chelly before, where where the stuff he is able to do the night before a game and then play the way he does on game day is remarkable to me. But I only got to experience it once or twice. You got to experience it on a regular basis. What was that like? Watching what this human,
I don't know. I probably shouldn't be even saying this. Well, I mean, he's unbelievable. I mean, all the great players and stuff. They would. I mean, you might not see them out, but you're always going to have a bottle of wine or a beer or a vodka or whatever. But it's pretty amazing. I mean, I learned from the best, and I mean, night before a game, it really didn't matter back in the day. Like, I mean, when I retired in 06 with the Penguins, I was starting to get in there drinking protein shakes, and you're riding the bike after the game. I mean, when I played, it was like 48 beer in the dressing room and on the bus and on the plane. I mean, we were getting away with murder, but you're in such good shape that, and now you're judged with all the cell phones and everything. And I always tell everybody, it's just like, hey, well, after work, everyone goes and has a beer or whatever, goes for happy hour. I mean, you're an athlete, but that has changed in the game today. And I think that's why I appreciate the game back then more so than today.
Let me take you back to, I mean, the cup was obviously amazing, but there was another individual night for you, February of 1994, where you set the franchise record for assists with 5 in a game. That was a record that had been held by Doug Harvey, and it was also shared by Sheldon Souray, some of the great Montreal Canadian legends. Walk me through that night when something like that starts to unfold.
A scary thing is we were playing Hartford, and I'd never thought I would tie a record or even come close. Someone said, well, you had 5 assists. And I said, did I? I didn't even know. And it was weird. In 12 days, I had 12 points. I had a hat trick the next night, I think, against St. Louis. And I got put on the power play. I think I had 1 point at Christmas time. I ended up with 40. And things were just changing. It was so fast, so quick. It was absolutely unbelievable. And like I said, I didn't even realize that I tied the record. And that Doug Harvey in 1952, I believe, had that record. And then you're right, Sheldon Souray too, which is a great guy, a good friend of mine. And it's hard to believe because Montreal's been around for so long.
Yeah. You were also part of an infamous night that involved Patrick Roy, where he's net getting shelled, and we all remember it when he kept looking to the bench to see if he was going to get the hook, and he got left in there and got left in there and got left in there. You were right in the middle of all that.
Yeah.
And you saw the exchange between Patrick Roy and Ron Corey. For our audience who maybe doesn't recall, walk us through how that all transpired.
Well, I think when Mario got hired, and Mario Tremblay is a great guy too, Mr. Corey, but I don't think you'd do that to probably the greatest goaltender in the world. And Patty was, you know, even in work or whatever you're doing in business, you're going to have a bad day. And they left Patty in there to hang to dry. And I remember Patty coming and said, I could understand some French. And the last game I'll ever play for the Montreal Canadiens. And to hear that, it was just like, wow. But when Mario got the job, and Patty used to room with Mario Tremblay as a rookie, and Patty kind of smirked and started laughing. And Mario said, "What are you laughing about?" You know, I mean, they just fired Serge, Jock, and everybody. And some things I can't say, but I won't. But they should have never left him in the net. He should have retired as a Montreal Canadian. And I think after that moment, that organization just, I mean, I even offered to take a pay cut to stay there. And then I made the World Cup team, and Lou Lamoriello calls me and says, I didn't even want $1 million. Lou Lamoriello goes, I could be a 4-year deal for $6.6 million. I went, pardon me? I mean, I was shocked because he's the toughest guy to do a deal with. Yeah. I remember Rajan Ul and Mario calling me. We were in Calgary. I think we were playing the Russians that night in the World Cup. And they said, when are you going to get your money? And I said, to me, it wasn't about money. It was about where I wanted to be and where I would play. And everything just went south after that.
Yeah, it did. You were also part of, I'd love to get your perspective on these things. April of 1996. If you get a chance, go out and go on Google this and see it on YouTube, wherever you need to see it. It's a pretty classic moment where you rifled a puck at the Sabres bench. And we were all wondering, what just happened? Was that an accident? Was he trying to, was he farting around and it got out of hand? Walk our audience through what happened on that night. How it all.
I'll tell you the truth, everything. It was, we were playing Buffalo, Paolo Fontaine, Matthew Schneider and I were checking against him. And he'd put out his, Barnaby Ray or May or whoever, Donnelly, and pick a fight. And we're in the new place now. And I'm like, I'm not allowed to fight. And now I'm getting kind of embarrassed. So I jump on the ice. I skate by Buffalo's bench. I said to Ted and Nolan, I said, why don't you put your boys out now and we'll see what happens. And he said, basically, F you, blah, blah, blah. And I said, F you, you Paiute. And I told, I think it was Keener, after who took the draw, I said, just win the draw. And I did shoot it at his head. I'm glad I didn't hit him. But I was just, you're young and stupid. And now I wanted to fight. I don't care who I was going to fight. But I thank God I missed his head by about, I don't know, a foot, maybe 2 inches. And one of the reporters says, well, good thing Lyle Odelein was shooting the puck because he really wouldn't hit him. But I would just go on a little bit goofy. And it
cost you some money too.
Pardon me?
It cost you some money in a couple of games.
Yeah, like 40 grand.
Yeah.
But then the Canadians were going to pay for it, blah, blah, blah. And they couldn't because of the new rules in NHLPA. But in the end, it all works out.
It did. I'll tell you what, it worked out really well for you because I believe you're living in Columbus now, are you not?
No, I live in Pittsburgh now. I own 44 Supercut stores here. I got thousands of acres in Canada. Things are going good. Make more money now than I did when I played. So
Good for you, man. That's amazing. The reason I asked about Columbus was because you had
love
the
Columbus.
you got to be their first captain in
Yeah.
franchise history. What was that like?
You know, it was great. Mr. Mack, Mr. McConnell, Mr. Crane, Jay Crane. I think Doug McLean for. I actually knew when I signed there before. I mean, I was going to be unrestricted, and they offered me a $10 million deal. So I actually had that deal done in June, which that was 24 years ago now. So it'd be 25. And Doug said, "Well, we're probably going to name you captain," which meant a lot to me too. And absolutely love the people of Columbus. The whole organization was great. When I got traded, I was pretty upset because I wanted to stay there and stuff. But business is business, and you move on and go from there. And I ended up going to Chicago, and things worked out good.
All right, I got to ask you about your success because sadly I've met a lot of guys who played NHL careers, who played before all the big money was there,
Right.
and now really, are struggling financially. But clearly, you're doing real well. I didn't realize how well you were doing. You're saying you're making more now than you ever did in your career. How did you make that transition? Were you always business minded? Did you fall into something you really liked? How did that work out?
I bought a lot of land in the early 90s, late 80s. And, I think I paid like $58,000 a quarter, which is 160 acres. Now it's selling for $800,000.
Wow.
I mean, and then my father-in-law got me into Supercuts, and that was obviously a cash cow. And my second wife, great. I have 6 kids, 3 stepkids. We're the Brady bunch, 3 of my own. So my son turned 25, so we went out for the Eagles concert in Vegas and the Steeler game, and it's been a real good run for me.
Have you always been real business minded? Is that something that's always appealed to you, that when you got away from the ice that you wanted to be involved in these businesses and such?
Yeah, well, I really enjoyed farming for one thing. I mean, because you get away from everybody was going to like Turks and Caicos or St. Bart's. The next day I'd be on the plane going home to see the crop. But I wouldn't even turn the radio on in the John Deere tractor I was driving. It was just nice to be left alone, and especially playing in Montreal because, everywhere you went, you couldn't walk down the street. And believe me, I enjoyed that, and I still do today. But sometimes it's nice to check out for a month.
How are you doing? It sounds like you're very relaxed and very calm.
Yeah,
You're
I'm at one of my clubs right now. Great talking to you, Gino, and just really, really enjoying life and appreciate it a lot more after all the stuff I went through. And I have such a great wife now and stuff, and great family. My stepkids are great, and my kids are great, and my father-in-law is unbelievable, and we have a place in Lake Tahoe, and things are good.
Good for you, Lyle. I love this. I love hearing this. I love catching up with you. Will you do me a favor? You play 5 fast facts with me before we say goodbye, where I ask you 5 quick questions. You give me 5 quick answers.
Yep.
All right, here we go. Time now for 5 fast facts with 16-year NHL veteran, Stanley Cup champion with the 1993 Montreal Canadiens, Lyle Odelein. Lyle, who was the best teammate you ever played with?
To be honest, this is real quick. There's so many. Dougie Gilmour's right there. I can't even pick one.
All right. Who was the best coach you ever played for?
I love Demers and Lemaire from the New Jersey. Best coach is probably Jacques Lemaire from when I played in New Jersey.
Who did you hate playing against the most and why?
I hated Barnaby because he always hang on a fight, and I was like, stand back and throw.
After all your success in your career, both on and off the ice, what's the one piece of advice that you would have given yourself, the 15-year-old version of yourself, if you had a chance to tell yourself something years ago?
Believe in your dream.
Wow. If you hadn't become a professional hockey player, what career do you think you would have followed instead?
I'd probably be on the farm right now.
It sounds like something you really enjoyed. Listen,
Thank
that's
you.
5 Fast Facts with Lyle Odelein. Lyle, thanks so much for this. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. And so many times we hear bad stories of where guys are post-career,
Yeah.
but it's like you're in a really good place, and I could not be happier for you. Thank you so much for this.
Thank you so much for having me, and have a great weekend.
Our guest, Stanley Cup champion Lyle Odelein. The Overtime Podcast is proudly presented by Domino's Pizza and Athlete's Care. If you're watching the big game at home or hungry right now, Domino's has you covered. Check out the Domino's Mix and Match deal. Medium, 2 toppings, pizza, pasta, stuffed, cheesy bread, boneless chicken, or classic chicken wings. Any 2 items for only $8.99 each. Canada's favorite pizza at Domino's.ca. Athlete's Care is proud to be celebrating its 26th year, offering sports medicine services to both elite athletes and the general population who require rehab for a new or chronic injury or pain. Go to where the best go. Athlete's Care Sports Medicine Clinics with 24 locations in the Greater Toronto Area and Ottawa. If you missed any parts of the show, don't worry. Visit our website at overtimepodcast.ca, where you can both listen and subscribe to future shows. The Domino's Pizza Overtime Podcast can be found on Spotify, iTunes Podcasts, or any of your favorite podcast platforms. As well, please check out and subscribe to our YouTube channel at O-Time Podcast. Until next week, I'm Gino Reda saying so long, hockey fans, and thanks for joining us on the Domino's Pizza Overtime Podcast.